Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Jenna's World. So we're going to react um the YouTube, the videos from YouTube. Okay, so please let's watch together. Okay, so let's get started. So this is all about the 20th weirdest beauty standards around the world. So let's dive in. Okay. Okay.
These are the 20 weirdest beauty standards around the world.
Channel pala to guys, need a
Number
scary
20.
cherry.
Japanese geisha.
Geisha, okay.
According to official stuff, a geisha is a female Japanese performance artist. These women are usually hired to provide the entertainment at traditional tea houses and other social events. They sing, they dance, they host a tea ceremony and serve stuff, like a very specifically attired waitress. But geishas are known for their instantly recognizable appearance.
Napapa... So, parang yung geisha, sila yung mga entertainer sa Japan. Since wala pa yung Filipino entertainer, so sila yung mga parang kanununuan na entertainer. So, they can be waitress or like I mean, kahit anong gustuin siguro ng mga taong pumupunta ron, gano'n sila. Pero pakiramdam nila, yung paglagay ng mga itim sa ngipin, tas mga ganyang look, parang pinapaputi nila yung mukha nila. So parang beauty sa kanila yon. So that's their culture in Japan. So let's continue then, okay?
Appearances. They wear extreme makeup of startling
Yes.
white
Yung
foundation on their
sobrang
faces,
puti.
a
Parang
distinct red lipstick,
face
black
paint.
eyeliner, and a heavy
And
defined
then,
eyebrow.
di ba?
Next, they have an elaborate hairstyle
Ang
involving a
liit
complicated
ng
top knot,
lips.
which is adorned with various hairpins and ornamentation.
So,
Then, of
ganyan
course, there's the
ka-komplikado yung
kimono.
hair.
Geishas wear traditional Japanese clothing with shorter sleeves and a
Okay.
small obi sash. They also sport those sandals, which give them the characteristic shuffling sort of walk.
So, ganyan sa Japan. Ganyan sila mag-entertain. So, meron
All of
din
these things are
traditional
imbued with
dance.
enormous meaning, and they each carry a weight of tradition. In fact, only a fully fledged geisha may actually wear the clothing and makeup of a geisha, and the ones in training, known as meiko, are only allowed to wear parts of the costume, makeup, and hairdo, or they may even
So,
have
dapat
their
may
own,
training
which
pala
indicates
sila
their
para
trainee
maging
status. Just how
ano.
weird that these stylings are is not really something for any of us to
Yes,
judge. There's
that's
so much to say about this mysterious cultural tradition that just pointing out and saying that it's weird doesn't even make an attempt to make sense of it. Yes, geisha do have a distinctive look, but
Yeah.
it's not so much a beauty standard per se, rather an expression of traditions of
Yeah.
which we have nothing comparable.
That's
Before
correct.
we go on, like this
So, nagte-training din pala sila. So, pagka hindi ka trained enough, hindi ka pwede mag-costume ng gano'n. So, parang ah, valuable sa kanila yung traditional pagiging geisha. So, ang galing, unique yun, diba? So, skip na natin tong commercial. Oh my God, this is a scary one. Okay.
a sweet topic. Take a look at these two super interesting polarizing beauty standards. On the left, we have a Japanese geisha. In the Edo
Yeah,
period, geisha
look. Nakakatakot siya pero beauty standard nila yun during their time. Paano pag nasa dilim to yung si geisha sa, to call this, left side? Nalilito kasi ako sa right side and left side. So, left side, sa geisha. Ano yung imagine ko pag nasa dilim, unique yun, diba? So, skip na natin tong commercial. Oh my God, this is a scary one. Okay.
a sweet topic. Take a look at these two super interesting polarizing beauty standards. On the left, we have a Japanese geisha. In the Edo
Yeah,
period, geisha
look. Nakakatakot siya pero beauty standard nila yun during their time. Paano pag nasa dilim to yung si geisha sa, to call this, left side. Nalilito kasi ako sa right side and left side. So, left side. So, geisha. Ano yung imagine ko pag nasa dilim? My God! Takot ako. Alam mo, feeling ko pwede ako maging geisha kasi dilat yung mata ko. Tingnan nyo ah. Ganon. Pwede na, di ba? Pero yung isa, si Granny, alam ko talagang may ganitong tradition yung mga butas-butas sa mukha dati. Meron pa rin ngayon, may mga nagbubutas pa rin ng tenga na parang kasi laki ng benching ko. Pero grabe yung, alam ko nung unang panahon, hindi ko alam kung dito, basta alam ko Asia rin yun. The more na malaki yung mga piercing mo, the more na parang mas superior ka. Siguro ganun. So, continue natin kung tama ako. Okay?
Geishas would paint their teeth black because it was deemed to be beautiful. Imagine that. And on the right, an Indian Apatani with colossal nose plugs. What do you think of these cultural differences? Do you see them as beautiful? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below using the hashtag #SweetTopic. Number 19. Lip plates amongst the Mercy, Kai, and Terma tribes in Africa.
Sa Africa tayo.
When a girl in the Mercy, Kai, or Terma
Nice.
tribes in
Oh my
Africa
God.
turns 15 or 16 years old, the tradition is that she'll begin the process of wearing a lip plate. This begins when her mother, or sometimes another woman, will cut her lower lip and insert a wooden plug. This plug will remain in place
So
until the
parang
wound is healed, and this can take up to 3 months. Then, after that, the disc may be chosen and added to the hole.
So, ilang taon pwedeng
The
magpaganyan?
size of the disc is really a personal decision, and the young woman will choose for herself just how far she wishes to stretch her lip. The discs begin off smaller and then are gradually increased by
Yeah.
size until the desired disc is reached. Some of the girls may continue to add larger discs up to around 12 centimeters in diameter, but this is not necessarily what is required by any means. It's personal, and many will stop at a
Imagine ninyo. Pag meron tayong parang singaw sa bibig, so feeling natin na ayaw natin na masanggi ng lips natin. So naglalaway tayo. Paano nila, kunwari, nagsasalita sila. I'm sure, ang bigat nung disc na yun. Magsasalita sila, I'm sure, may tutulong laway sa kanila. Diba? Paano pag matutulog sila? Oh my, butas. Lalaway talaga sila. Pero syempre, tradition nila yon, standard nila ng beauty. So, let's respect their culture, okay? Pero, I can't imagine. Ang sakit nun. Alam mo yun? Piercing nga lang na hikaw ilalagay dito, masakit eh. How much more kung parang sanga? Anong sanga ng kahoy or puno, ibabara until gumaling. Tapos pag gumaling na, unti-unti palaki hanggang ma-stretch yung ano natin. Nag-wonder lang ako kung pwedeng, what do you call this? Kung halimbawa lang, di ba sa tenga natin, kapag oras na butasan tapos parang mga isang taon, tapos na hindi natin naslagyan ng mga hikaw, di ba nagko-close? Nagko-close din kaya yung ganong lips, naglaylay na? Wala lang, napapaisip lang ako. Okay, so let's continue.
much smaller disc size. These lip plates actually carry a number of significant meanings for these women. It's a symbol of beauty, it's a commitment to the woman's husband. She will traditionally wear it when she serves him food. It is a powerful indicator of their identity and the membership of their tribe.
Oh, tama. Powers.
Number 18.
Yung value ng powers.
The elongated necks amongst the Kaya women in
Alam ko yan sa
Myanmar.
Myanmar.
This
Yung-
extremely controversial place has all the internety
grabe.
people
Paano
getting
yun?
in
Hindi
their
ka naman
panties in all
kumu-
kinds
left
of
and right,
bunches,
so ganun,
perhaps for good reason. In northwest Thailand, there's a village
Sa
which is
Thailand.
famous as a tourist hotspot where people can visit the long neck women who are known for their tradition of
Oo
wearing
naman,
coils
parang
of
naawa rin
brass
ako. Pero
rings which
syempre, masaya sila
elongate
sa
their
ganyan.
necks. Sounds uncomfortable, and yes, it is in more ways than one. These women are refugees from Myanmar, and they've escaped poverty
from
and
Myanmar,
conflict and
tapos
sought
napunta sila
asylum in
Thailand.
Thailand. The Kaya
Naging
people
parang
of
tourist
Myanmar
spot
are a
sila.
marginalized ethnic group who face persecution in their own country and perhaps exploitation as a cultural curiosity in their adopted land. This is one of the only ways that these women are able to make enough money to survive. So despite the outside view that this place is nothing more than a
Sana,
human zoo and that
bumili
tourists
ng
should
mga-
stop visiting, this is
mga
these
tinda nila
people's
yung mga
only
tourists
source of
kasi parang
income.
yung
So it's a
talagang
total
source of income
catch-22 situation. But what do you think
Alam mo
about
yun,
this?
Diyos ko,
Is it
pero
a zoo
ano,
or is it a way for these
kawawa.
marginalized people to survive? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Teka lang.
Number
Teka lang.
17.
Medyo naaawa ako eh. Paano yun? Ini-imagine ko. Ganun siya. Shit. So, napaka-sensitive na ng bone nila sa neck. So, just in case na masangga sila, syempre, stiff na yung bone niya dun eh. So, pag na-aksidente sila, natumba or what, oh my God, di ba? Delikado kaya pagka natumba sila or naitulak sila. Tapos, syempre, hindi na flexible yung leeg mo kasi nakaganon na. Parang stretch na. So, makakalingon-lingon pa ba sila ng ganyan? Or, kaya pa ba nila nang yumuko ng ganyan? Wala lang. Curious lang ako. So, let's continue. 17.
Chalk-covered bodies amongst the Cairo people in Ethiopia.
Okay.
The Cairo people of Ethiopia are amongst the very last tribes who
So, chalk
continue to
yan.
maintain a body painting tradition which goes back more than 500
so hindi
years.
siya
These
body
painted
painting,
designs are
just
significant
chalk
for two main reasons.
all.
They're considered a sign of beauty and they're used for battle. This tribe excels at
okay.
body and face painting. They use ochre, white chalk, and
Chalk.
yellow mineral rock, amongst other things,
so
to
lahat
decorate their skin.
gawa
The
sa
paint is mixed from these items as well as
sa
ash,
rock
animal
na
fat, and
parang,
water. The decorative patterns and
chalky-chalky
images that they
type,
use
parang
vary
tawag
every
ba
day
yun?
and range from simple lines, dots, and stars to animals and handprints. The decoration is used by both the male and female members of the tribe, and the men tend to use the brightest colors, as this indicates that they are attractive and more courageous in battle. In fact, men also wear their hair in very elaborate styles, the adornments of which also have significance. For example, they may wear a cap, and the color of the cap will indicate something to each other, with each color having a different legendary or mystical significance. For example, a man with a gray and red clay bun with an ostrich feather is wearing a sign that he will be brave in battle and killed an enemy or dangerous animal. Now, beauty standards are not just about women, and there can indeed be hidden meanings below the surface. Number 16.
So yung mga body paint, iba-iba pala yung ano yun. Parang ibig sabihin. And the more na parang colorful ka, the more na attractive ka sa, alam mo yun, sa opposite sex mo. And again, parang it shows na matapang ka or parang, no, angas, ganun siguro. And during that time, wala pang mga paint, mga ganun, mga liquid paint, mga ganun. So, chalk lang. So, napaka-resourceful nila. So, I wonder kung hanggang ngayon, pinapractice pa rin nila yung ganitong klaseng tradition or your, like beauty culture or beauty standard.
Stretched earlobes amongst the
Earlobes,
Maasai
hikaw.
tribe in southern Kenya.
Okay.
Body modification is something which has a
Modification,
history
so
going
mga
back
ano
in
ka-
time. As
okay.
far as humans ourselves, or as long as there have been people, people have been doing things to express stuff with their bodies. Earlobes are one of the parts of the human body which has been most frequently adorned or modified
So
throughout
maraming
time. This is
pinapasok.
mainly because the earlobe
Accessories.
itself lends itself to being pierced and has the strength and elasticity to support various items of jewelry that might be positioned there. It's also an area of the body which heals relatively relatively easily and quickly, and people have always been at least a
May
little bit
padlock pa,
practical
oh.
about such
My God.
things. In Kenya, however, ear piercing is a hugely important practice. Almost every
Kenya.
community has some sort of ear piercing in their past. What varied was the reason behind the piercing, the type, and the size of hole that was made. Oh, and the gender of the recipient as well. Piercing has historically been performed as a ritual, usually to mark a time of transition, especially childhood to youth or youth to adulthood. Ear stretching was and still is practiced amongst the Maasai people of southern Kenya. This was done gradually to make longer and wider
Okay lang
holes
yan
which
kasi
could
sa
hold
bibig.
jewelry or as a sign of bravery amongst warriors. The ornaments chosen would often signify this bravery.
Okay.
Number 15.
So, ibig sabihin, so, parang sa lips din, kada laki ng butas, mas nag, um, nagmamanifest ng parang superiority mo, di ba? Tama ba yun? Superiority, yon. Yun. Okay lang, mas parang carry ko namang ganun kaysa sa bibig kasi talaga magtutulo laway ka eh. Okay, so 50 na tayo.
Curvy body figures amongst rural villages in Mauritania.
Saan yun?
There are some beauty standards with a dark side. I'm not talking about the rituals, which seem to be reasonably optional amongst modern peoples, but rather a situation in which young women are forced to endanger their physical and mental health in the pursuit of marriage. In Mauritania, girls as young as 7 years old are sent away to camp in order to get the kind of figure that's deemed most desirable in their culture. These girls are then force-fed as much as 16,000 calories a day so that they may gain weight, but not just a little. These young girls and women are being forced to blow their bodies up like balloons. Mauritania has a cult of body shape. Like America's pursuit of unobtainable thinness, this country has a cult of fatness. This is their beauty standard, dating back in history to a time when a man's wife and her fatness would symbolize his wealth. It was proof that he was so rich that he could feed her most generously while other people would die in the drought-prone region. This tradition of force-feeding girls was dying out, but then in 2008 a military coup would remove the more progressive government that had begun to investigate and fight the practice. They then installed a government that claimed to want a return to tradition, which is usually code for the subjugation of women, and the practice began to gain popularity again. Being big is now favored again, and these force-feeding farms have grown out of control. The girls are beaten or trotted if they refuse the food, and they're broken down mentally and fed until they get sick. Then, very often, forced into child marriage. This is not just a misunderstood beauty standard. This is a major human rights issue, and it's barbaric. Number
Sobrang sama naman nun, Diyos ko. Walang rights yung mga kabataan or mga kababaihan. Kawawa. 7 years old, parang i-force kang kumain ng kumain para maging mataba ka. Eh, magiging mataba ka naman whether you like it or not. Pag natapos or pag na-reach mo na yung ano mo, yung teenage years, which is 18. Pag nag-18 ka na, yung metabolism mo, mabagal na, so tataba ka. Kung tataba ka talaga. Eh, feeling ko sa area, sa lugar nila, Kenya, parang mga malaking babae naman sila eh. So, bakit hindi sila maghintay ng tamang panahon para tumaba yung mga babae? Hindi yung pipili 7 years old, Diyos ko, kaliit-liit pa nun, ang cute-cute pa ng mga ganung bata. Tapos i-force kumain ng kumain, tapos paparusahan. Pag oras na hindi kumain, Diyos ko, kawawa, torture. Tina-torture yun. Tapos ipapa-asawa, ipapa-arrange marriage. Buti na lang nasa Pilipinas tayo. Ako, naawa ako para sa mga bata. Sobra. Ayoko ng ganun. Lahat tayo may karapatan, even mga hayop, may karapatan sila. Na irespeto at igalang kung ano yung gusto nila. Hindi ko lang kayang isipin. Yung mga ganun, yung i-force lang ng mga bata. Diyos ko. So, pakiramdam nila, pag mataba ka, ibig sabihin, isa sign na mayaman ka kasi marami kang pambiling pagkain. So, kaya marami ring mga lalaking magkakandara pa sa lugar nila kasi nga mayaman ka. Mas marami kang lalaking choices. Pero, at the end of the day, arranged marriage pa rin yun kasi Hindi ka pipili ng mamahalin mo or papakasalan mo. Parents mo magkokontrol sa'yo. Parang, it's so unfair. So, unlike dito sa Pilipinas or other Asian countries, siyempre gusto talagang ang standard na ng katawan natin kailangan perfectly shaped, payat ka, 'di ba? Tapos parang hindi sukatan ng pagiging mataba o payat ka kung wala kang makain or mahirap ka or mayaman ka. So, I think nakikita ko sa Pilipinas, ang sukatan ng mayaman is parang yung skin mo or sometimes meron din namang hindi gano'n kayaman pero napakaganda ng skin kasi because of the genes, 'di ba? Kasi colonized na tayo ng different countries. So, I think hmm, sa behavior or mindset makikita mo kung hindi rin eh. So, paano palatandaan ng isang mahirap at saka, okay, sabi nila kapag mayaman ka, over overporma ka. Ay, so no, pag overporma ka, hindi ka mayaman. Pero pagka single form, simpleng porma ka lang, mayaman ka. So no matter kung mataba ka or payat, or yung skin mo hindi kagandahan, yun na lang yung basehan kapag kami, kasi ang simpleng porma, ibig sabihin simpleng dress lang yun, pero sobrang mahal, lilibuhin yun. Pero yung mga overporma, hindi libo yun, parang mga class C, class B, ganun, or class A. Hindi siya talagang genuine na branded. So, feeling ko ganun. Pero I can talaga dun sa Kenya. Kenya! Diba? Commercial muna tayo.
14. Wadabi women have beauty traditions of their own.
Wadabi woman.
In Nigeria, there's a traditional beauty contest in which the men dress up and the women will then judge them and choose the winners. It sounds like a refreshing change, but in fairness, it's equally as irksome in many ways as any reverse beauty contest anywhere in the world. These items and colors that the men wear may have deeper meanings, but it is the judging and required standards that just highlights the trouble with categorizing people, any people, by such exacting standards.
Oh my God. Isang mukha oh.
The men are judged on their height, how slim they are, the symmetry of their face, and if they have good teeth. These things are not exactly any different from the sorts of things that Western beauty standards use to judge and categorize people, but the men do paint their faces and adorn their heads and dance for hours in order to impress the judges. The clouds used are symbolic. This is a traditional ceremony after all, but the judging feels all too familiar and equally awkward to be honest. Number 13.
Wait lang. Alam mo yun, parang yung isang mukha, tapos nakangiti pa. Tapos parang nakadilat ang mata. So, beauty standard nila yun. Paano sila i-judge kung para sa mga mukha nila? Sa bagay, kailangan symmetrical. Okay, hindi ko na problemahan yun. Bahala sila. So, dito na tayo. Next. Ba tayo?
Yabe double tooth in Japan.
So, sa Japan.
Japan is known for its sometimes unusual and often unique traditions and rituals, but
Alam ko
this
sa
is
Japan
one
mga
that I had
sungkingipin.
never actually heard of, and it seems to have become big business for the dental industry at least. In Japan, there's apparently a type of tooth that's considered to be a sign of youth and beauty, known as the double tooth. This is when the teeth, especially the upper canines, have an especially fang-like appearance. It's often manifested as an overlapping or protruding tooth, which may sit higher up in the gum than any others.
So, asset sa kanila yung mga sungki.
In fact, this particular idiosyncrasy of Japan aesthetic gained extra attention back in 2013 when a trend began to have this look augmented. That's right, whereas in America people do everything in their power and wallets to avoid a dreaded wonky tooth, in Japan they were actually paying to have this crooked tooth put in on purpose.
So talagang
Yes, in Japan,
napakasadya silang
imperfections are seen
magpasungki.
as beautiful, so much so that the young women wanted a cap put in their teeth to give them a less straight line. This is kind of extreme, but it makes you think now, doesn't it? Sometimes being different and not looking like a uniform Barbie doll is seen as beautiful. Perhaps celebrating our so-called imperfections could be the future of beauty standards, but that's probably wishful thinking.
Yung iba cute, yung
Number
iba parang
12.
hindi maganda. So, So, sa kanila cute yung may mga sungki-sungki, pero dito sa Pilipinas, depende sa sungki kasi minsan yung sungki ang pangit, eh. Minsan yung sungki ang hindi maganda o yung iba maganda. So, kapag hindi maganda, eh, pa-repair mo na. Pero, well, sa Japan, ganun ang beauty standard nila. So, let's be it. Okay?
The red beauty miracle of the Himba people. The women of the Himba tribe in
Ang
Namibia
ganda
are
yun.
water. It was preserved for men only to wash with, as well as the red ochre. Women have discovered a way to bathe in smoke, an unusual practice, and it also comes from a time when water was extremely scarce and they needed to remain hygienic without the precious resource.
So, sa kanila,
A
walang
daily
mahirap.
smoke bath is now part of the Himba women's routine. Smoke and fire play another role in this tribe's sacred practices. A holy fire is the way that the Himba communicate with their god. In every village, a holy fire burns at all times, and this fire is also the gateway to the village. Outsiders may not cross the holy line unless they have been invited into the village. Holy smoke. Number 11. The Cairo tribe, body painting and scarification. Well, now we've already seen this tribe.
So, dun sa lugar, sa last video natin, so parang naglalagay sila ng clay para sa, yun, hygiene, beauty standard yun nila. Tapos hindi sila, yun, gusto kong ulitin, yun, paano sila, dahil walang tubig, kaya ganun. Tingnan ko ulitin natin. Wait lang. Yan na. So, hygiene rituals yung mga ganon, yung pagpapahid nila ng
Of
parang
Himba women,
tubig
as they are forbidden
or
from using
clay.
water to wash, like a tradition that
So,
developed
bawal maghugas.
due to the scarcity of
maligo.
water. It was preserved for men only to wash with, as well as the red ochre. Women have discovered a way to bathe in smoke, an unusual practice, and it also comes from a time when water was extremely scarce and they needed to remain hygienic without the precious resource.
So, nauwi nila.
A daily smoke bath is now part of the Himba women's routine. Smoke and fire play another role in this tribe's
Yun
sacred
ang
practices. A
bathing
holy
nila,
fire is the
smoke.
way that the Himba communicate with their god. In every village, a holy fire burns at all times, and this fire is also the gateway to the village. Outsiders may not cross the holy line unless they have been invited into the village. Holy smoke. Number 11. The Cairo tribe, body painting and scarification. Well, now we've already seen this tribe of people in Ethiopia, and we all admired their body painting skills, but here we are again for some reason. But don't ask me, because I just work here. Anyways,
God.
as well as painting their bodies with beautiful and
painting,
elaborate
parang
designs, this tribe also sometimes takes things a little bit further. Well, much further
Ayan, oh.
actually, by permanently scarring their
Shit,
bodies in
my
decorative
God,
ways.
that's-
Although body painting is a huge part of the tribe's tradition, so is the use of scarification.
My
The men
God.
in the tribe
So
will
ako?
inflict lacerations and cuts on their skin, which will then heal and produce scars. These are considered to be signs of courage amongst the people. The scarification on a man's chest is actually rather symbolic. It indicates that he has killed enemies from other tribes and shows that he is highly respected in his own tribe.
Okay.
Apparently, each line on a man's chest represents an enemy that he has slain. Number
Okay.
10. Tattoo.
So, the more na marami silang mga scars, the more na parang pride nila yun. Kasi marami silang napatay. Pero, mukha na naman sa akin sa katawan, huwag lang sa mukha. Kasi, bagay, sa kanila pogi yun. Yun lang.
Tattooed lips and faces
Tattooed
amongst the
lips
Maori
and
tribe in New Zealand.
faces.
Tattooing is a hugely important part of the Maori culture, and the
Oh, even
tattooing
sa
of the face and
Pilipinas.
head
Pero
is
parang
considered
namang
especially sacred
kumain
amongst
niya
their
ng
people. Moko,
dinuguan.
or facial tattoos
Parang
on
hindi ko
women,
bet
tend to
yung
be
dito
just
ang
on the
pwede
chin
sa
area,
ibang
whereas
katawan.
on men, their moko usually covers the entire face. There's a huge amount of symbolism bound up in these tattoos. They represent a whole heritage and history, as well as their sacred meanings. To the Maori people, the moko is also now a symbol of post-colonialism, a culture culture and tradition that was almost completely eradicated under the colonization and practices of missionaries has been brought back to life for the Maori. Since the late 20th century, there's been a massive resurgence in taking the moko amongst the Maori people. Both men and women have decided to reclaim their heritage through this symbol. Number 9. No surgery in Iran. In Iran, women must wear the hijab. This is a headscarf that covers their head and hair. So, somewhat bizarrely, this has been connected with a huge increase in rhinoplasty, that is, the nose job. According to some media interpretations of the trend, the wearing of the hijab has led many women to seek and make a fashion statement in other ways, and apparently this means that they are, rather dramatically, adjusting their noses with plastic surgery. While there is evidence of an increase in the use of plastic surgery, on faces in particular, it's tricky to establish exactly what causes it. Iran may now be called the nose job capital of the world, but Iranian women are subject to as many pressures and beauty standards as any woman anywhere else. The alteration of noses on a large scale may simply be indicative of that beauty standard from the more wide world, affecting the way that women see themselves here like everywhere else. Number 8.
So parang sa Pilipinas, kasi sa Pilipinas mga wala tayong tangos, pango, so kailangan magpalagay. Sa kanila namang lugar, feeling ko, matangos naman ang ilong nila. Feeling ko masyado na siguro matangos, so kaya bawasan lang. May ganun eh. Tsaka Pilipinas lang naman, tsaka other Asian country na medyo hindi maganda yung mga ilong eh. Pero yung mga Middle East or like mga Saudi Arabian, mga related to that country, magaganda naman ang ilong nila eh. Minsan lang sobrang tangos. So, wala talagang perfect sa mundo, guys. Let's continue.
Tooth filing ceremony in
So,
Bali,
another
Indonesia.
sa tooth filing
Between
na
the
naman.
ages of 6 years old and 18 years old, girls in Bali may undergo a ritual in which they have their teeth filed. Now, it may sound strange, but it has been a part of this culture for generations, and the whole thing is actually a really lengthy ritual way beyond the bit where they file the kid's front teeth. It's a whole ceremony in which the child wears fancy robes, they're laid down on a special mat, there are women surrounding her, and music is played. The priest places a wedge in the child's mouth and then begins to file her front
Kumbaga sa
teeth.
kuko, pinapile mo. Ayun o. Sobrang sakit niyan.
They apparently modify the two upper canines, mostly for reasons of beautification. After this part of the ceremony, the child will then be isolated at home for 3 days, and then they must eat special foods with 6 different tastes: sweet, salty, spicy, bitter, sour, and burnt. And then, apparently, they're good to go for life.
Okay.
Number 7. Fair-skinned Korean. In South Korea, there's a beauty
So, pinapile na parang kuko. Hindi ko alam kung para pumantay or para tumulis or meron silang particular na shape na kailangan i-achieve para ma-reach nila yung beauty standard ng Indonesia. Pero pero kung hindi siya straight, yung parang may shape, ang sakit nun. Ngingilo talaga hanggang gilagid yun. Tapos, syempre, pakakainin ka ng mga iba't ibang klaseng lasa ng pagkain, yung gaganan-ganan mo. Para saan yun? Pero alam ko, grabe, walang anesthesia, walang kung ano man lang nilagay sa ngipin. Sobrang sakit talaga nun. Baka, I wonder kung matibay pa ba yung ngipin nila after that? Dami talagang mga na nagugulat ka sa mga standard nila. So, sa Korea na tayo, alam natin lahat kasi mga K-pop lovers tayo. So, tingnan natin kung ano pa ba hindi natin
standard,
alam.
which is rooted in racism. The desire to have the whitest skin possible is a strong
Para
beauty
Pilipino.
standard in South Korean culture, but it's also problematic as it's based on colorist. This is racism that regards paler complexions as preferable. And This is usually within ethnic groups in which some members are treated better on the account of their lighter skin. In Korea, there's a fashion trend toward having the palest complexion, and this is not only propped up by the cosmetics industry there, it's also actively promoted by it. Selling huge quantities of products that purport to give skin a lightening effect has well and truly warped the sense of self-esteem amongst Korean women, and this is an unethical and impossible beauty standard that's being promoted to unscrupulous cosmetic companies in order to make pursuit of bigger profit margin. Number 6. Bodhi tribe's fattest man considered to be the hottest. Apparently, in the Bodhi tribe in Ethiopia, the men are in competition to grow the biggest belly of them all. In many parts of the world, we're constantly being bombarded with garbage advertisements for useless tips to lose belly fat, but for the men of this tribe, their goal is quite the opposite. Once a year, the men who participate come together to show off their big bellies. They spend a lot of time working on growing that gut as well. Spending 6 months prior to the competition engaging in drinking a whole lot of cow's milk and blood. This, they reckon, is the best route to a big belly, although pizza and donuts would probably do the job equally as well. It would certainly involve a lot less blood drinking. Anyways, here we are. Tradition here determines that a man with a big belly is more attractive, and the man with the biggest wins the respect of his tribe.
Okay, so kung ang pinakagwapo sa kanila ay malaki ang tiyan, ay nako, maraming candidate dito sa Pilipinas. Tsaka, nagtitiis sila. Ang dali-dali naman palakihin. 6 months, magtitake sila ng mga blood, ay na, ayan, ng blood, tsaka ng gatas. Cow's milk. So, parang effort pa sila. Cow's milk, alam ko masustansya yun eh. Pero hindi ko alam kung anong connection ng blood para lumaki ang tiyan mo. Pero, kung alam lang nila ang sekreto para mabilis lumaki ang tiyan, beer, soft drinks, all of the junk foods. Kaya rin yan, lang 6 months, siguro mga 1 month or 2 months lang, laki na ng tiyan mo, hindi lang tiyan ng malaki. Lahat, lahat, pati binte, pati mukha. Pero sa kanila, imaginein mo, tiyan lang ang malaki, pero parang hindi mo nagbago yung mukha at saka yung mga legs nila, parang okay naman. Pag ako nakapunta dyan, bibigyan ko sila ng junk food. Wala silang problemahin. Kaso nga lang, siguro nakatulong yung cow's milk tsaka ng blood sa health nila. Although malaki ang tiyan nila, at least healthy pa rin. So, in a nice and healthy way kung bakit sila nagpalaki ng tiyan. Pagka junk food, sigurado maiksi rin ang buhay nyo. So, ganun pala. Okay.
Number 5.
Number 5 na tayo.
Chinese foot binding.
Ayan, masakit
This
yan.
was the practice that existed in China from
Shit,
the
ang
10th
sakit
century
yan.
until 1949, when the People's Republic of China was established. It involved the binding, by tightly wrapping in bandages, feet of women to adhere to a restrictive
Pero
and
in
painful
fairness,
beauty
tumanda
aesthetic.
sila.
It began when girls were between the ages of 4 and 6 years old, sometimes as young as 3, or up to the age of 12, when their female family members would begin binding their feet while they were still growing, all in order to restrict them from becoming too large. The ideal length at the time was considered to be just 3 inches long. It was a brutal and dangerous practice, and the girls' feet would grow deformed. It could even cause paralysis, gangrene, and ulceration. And if it became infected, girls could even die from the foot binding. The binding, which began when she was a child, would then be continued for the rest of the girl's life. Number 4. Lip.
So, from 3 years old, binabind na nila yung foot nila. So, wala bang naipit na ugat doon? Paano pag magpunta sila sa CR? Pag maliligo sila? Wala lang. Ang weird. Pero in fairness ha, may tumanda, ibig sabihin hindi naapektuhan yung ugat nila.
perforation in the Zoe tribe.
Perforation, so
The
bubutasan na
Zoe
yung
are an
lips. Oh my
isolated
God.
tribe living deep within the Amazon rainforest of Brazil, and these people only first had any sustained contact with the outside world when a group
So
of
nakahubad
meddlesome
sila,
missionaries
imagine.
built a
Grabe
base
yung
on their
tribe
land
nila.
in 1987. Since then, there have been laws passed, and the tribe has been officially recognized by the Brazilian government, and their land has been restricted to outsiders in order to prevent the spread of diseases like flu and the measles, which could be
Grabe,
deadly
oh,
to
hindi
the
sila
tribe.
nagkakasakit, nasa gubat sila. So, ang bigat ng kahoy.
This tribe all wear a specific adornment on their lip, known as the ember pot. The long wooden plug is inserted through the lower lip of all the tribespeople. The practice begins when children are between the ages of 7 and 9 years old, and as they grow, larger plugs then replace the smaller ones. This is a ritual associated with their ancestors and has been passed down through generations as a rite of passage. Number 3.
So, in fairness, kaya hindi naman, medyo close pa rin yung mouth nila, kaya walang tululaway. Kasi nga, binarahan eh. Ito nung isa, na yung plate. Pero, Diyos ko, ang bigat ng responsibilidad nila, ang bigat ng lips na, kawawa nun yung lips nila. Masyadong mabigat ang binubuhat. Pero, malapit na tayo matapos, guys, okay?
Dasanak
Diyan lang kayo.
tribe turns trash into beautiful jewelry. One man's trash is another man's treasure, or
Okay.
whatever that
Ganyan din
naffled
sa
saying is.
Pilipinas.
The Dasanak tribe of Ethiopia use stuff that they found lying about, stuff that they've scavenged in order to create beautiful and unique headdresses. While recycling is currently very much in vogue, this sort of thing is something that the shabby old tabloids just love to get a hold of and crank out as a story, apparently.
Napaka-inosente nila, promise. Pag napuntahan ng mga ibang foreigner na tourists,
And although
kung
this
naman
particular
sana sila-
tribe is certainly doing an unusual job with the recycling malarkey, they're not alone. People who live in poor communities all over the world take things that are thrown away and turn them into something new, and they do this literally every day
Sobrang
all
saya lang
over
nila,
the
no?
world.
Simple-simple
That's how it
lang.
is when you have very little. You make the best of what's available. And one thing is for certain, there's more than enough
Napakasimple,
garbage to
maligayang
go
pamumuhay.
around. These headdresses are pretty cool as art pieces though, aren't they? Number 2. The tribes of yore, the Brakpas and Ladakh. The Brakpas are a small ethnic group that's mainly living in a closed community in the Indian region of
Sa
Ladakh.
India to.
There are not many of this community left, and they're super fussy that nobody mixes with them. Marrying outside of the tribe is
Parang silang
totally
ano,
forbidden, so that's
parang
kind of
silang-
creepy and weird, but anyways,
ng
they're known
prutas.
for
Yung ulo na
enjoying
puno-puno
wearing
ng
these fancy
prutas.
floral arrangements on their heads, so that is the aspect of their culture that we shall look at today. These headdresses are apparently worn by the women even when they're working. Now, that's some dedication to the fashion since it seems as though it's likely to be a tricky thing to keep balanced on top of your head like
Yeah.
that.
Paano hindi nahuhulog yun? So, fashionista ka.
These headdresses
Ganyan ka.
contain flowers, brightly colored ribbons, and rows of coins that have been stitched together. And then they also wear traditional dress, which includes a kraftan,
Bigat
which
ng
is
suot
richly
nila, in
decorated.
fairness.
But it is the flowers that are the real crown and glory of the costume. They're a big part of the culture and are grown by every household as they're believed to signify prosperity
Parang
and love for the
lahat ng mga
community.
ano, so, ano yun?
Number 1.
So, kailangan araw-araw nilang papalitan yun para maging fashionista sila or tuwing lalabas lang sila or kung may special occasion saka sila magagaganyan. So, yun lang. Yun lang ang tanong ko. Kung meron nakakaalam kung anong sagot, alam nyo na. So, let's go to the last one.
The changing face of beauty
So,
in
India na
Northeast
naman.
India. Sometimes things can change. That is the truth of many beauty standards in the end. Fashions change, ideas come and go, and cultures will get
Yeah.
lost in the mess of modernization. That's what's happened to the Apatani tribe of the Zero Valley in northeast India. This once closed-off community had a very distinct style of beauty. The women had facial
Okay.
tattoos, earplugs, and nose plugs made out of
Lahat
wooden
kinuha niya,
discs,
tattoo
and they
dito,
wore the
facial
traditional
tattoo.
dress of the tribe that was handmade in the village.
So sa
But
India
then,
yan, akala ko
things began to
Africa eh.
change, and nowadays only the
So
very
ganun.
oldest remaining members of
Mm.
this tribe will still bear the marks
Bababa-iba
of
mo,
their
my
once
God.
proud ancestors of beauty and identity. The elderly women who still wear the tattoo and nose plugs lament the shift in
Nose
fashion
plugs.
amongst the younger generations, saying that their young women no longer look like Apatani women. They have shunned the beauty standards of the past
Paano
and
pag
now
na...
wear Indian clothes, no longer having the tattoos and piercings of their culture. They say that the young Apatani look like they could be from any other tribe, and it's a sad situation for the
May
older
mga babae
generations.
lang
But
ilan.
should beauty standards be dictated by history, or is there perhaps some room for change? So there you have it. We had a bit
Wait lang. Bababa or gaganon. Ngayon, paano sila pag magkakasipon or hahachi? Tutulo lang. Or, ayun ang isa oh, parang babang-baba na gano'n. Makakahinga pa ba sila niyan? Baba na eh, bigat kasi eh. Tapos tayo gusto natin nakaganyan. Sila nakaganyan gusto nila. So, beauty standard nila. So, iba-iba tayo. So, minsan hindi natin maintindihan kung bakit ginagawa nila. Siguro dahil ganun sila. Kasi iba-iba tayo. Huwag na natin problemahin ang sarili natin. Tapusin na natin to.
bit of a gawk at a few different sorts of people from around the world and made our judgments. So, what do you think of these beauty standards that we've seen today? And for that matter, the whole idea of there even being a standard for beauty in the first place. As always, let me know all of your tremendously
Okay, so tapos na. Tapos na yung video natin. So, let's end it for now. So, dun tayo sa na-overwhelm ako sa nakita ko, sa napanood ko. Pero, ang pinaka na problema ko or parang parang maapektuhan yung health is yung parang pagkikiskis or pagpapile ng ngipin. Feeling ko, nakakasira ng gum yun. Yun. Feeling ko yun ang parang nagbigay sa akin ng impact sa video. Yung nagpapile ng ngipin. Kayo, ano kayo? Ano yung parang impactful sa inyo? Ano yung tipong carry nyo tsaka hindi? So, that's it for now, guys. So, let's end up this one. So, thank you for tuning in and let's see you on the next reaction video. Bye.